Do our flight, or our salute to flight. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My country is a free land of liberty. Let's say our pledge to the Christian flag. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom is stands, one Savior, crucified, risen, and coming again, with life and liberty to all who believe. I am a seed. I am a seed. I am a seed. I am a seed. Let's say our pledge to the Bible. Hold the Bible up. There we go. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word, a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. Its words will I hide in my heart, that I may not sin against God. Okay, you can go back to your seats and we'll sing our theme song. Actually, we'll turn around and see our theme song always back here. Does that sound good? Okay. Let the night rain to the middle. to our program. We've had a very long, tiring week. And the adults, I don't know about the other adults, but I'm kind of exhausted. So. But the kids are raring to go to show you what they've learned. First up is Miss Amy's class. And she had the little one. And she had a full class most of the week. But tonight we have one with Olivia. Well, we have Oliver. We have Oliver back there. So I asked if we wanted to put Olivia with the others, and she's like, no, she's going to sing. So we're going to bring her up here, and she's going to sing for us. Come on, Olivia. Practice. Come on. I think she's going to do Happy Birthday. Yeah. Say you hold baby Jesus and sing to you. Okay, go loud. Sing real loud. Ready? Let's go. One of the ways that we told our Christmas story was using our box. Oh, Olivia. Let's see what's in our box. Who is this? And who is Mary? Who? She is special, but why was she special? Why? Oh, because the angel. What did the angel tell? Do you hear what the angel said to Mary? Okay, now, who did Mary have? Who is that? Baby Jesus. Normally they would tell me everything in my box. That's a treasure. Who gave Mary a treasure? You don't remember? We'll have to study this maybe tomorrow. What do you think? Well, we are so glad they are here. Like she said, normally we had 4. Tonight we have Olivia and Oliver. So I have a certificate for Oliver and a certificate for Olivia. Next year, she tells me she's going to be in the street class. Yeah. Here you go, Oliver. All right. Now for the big class. This is what you have to look forward to. Our next class was it's our what we're calling our primary class. Miss Connie was gracious enough to come and teach that class for us, and she did not know how much that she means to me. And I really appreciate her doing that. She's done an awesome job with them, and I think with them, and I think they're going to be amazing what they've learned in this course. Okay, guys. Come on up, Nana.
We had some amazing, wonderful visitors that came to our vacation Bible school today, and I want to see if we can figure out who they are. Hello there, young lady. Can you tell me who you are?
Mary.
Mary? Oh my goodness, it's Mary, guys. Look at that. Mary, tell us who you're holding in your arms.
Baby Jesus.
Baby Jesus. Are you the mother of baby Jesus?
Yes.
Please tell me what the angel said to you at the very beginning on Monday.
The angel said that I would have a special baby and his name is Baby Jesus.
And she told you what your baby's name was going to be? She did, didn't she? Shepherds like to talk really loud. Yeah. And she told you that the baby's name was going to be Jesus. And when you had that baby, where did you lay him?
In the manger.
And what kind of clothes did that baby have?
Swaddling clothes.
Swaddling clothes, this precious baby. You are such a good mama. And then we also have this, who are you, sir?
The innkeeper.
The who?
Innkeeper.
What does an innkeeper do?
It keeps a hotel.
It's like taking care of a hotel? Well, you had some special visitors come to see you, too. Who were they?
Mary and Joseph.
Mary and Joseph came to you? Oh,
Yes.
I bet you gave them the very best room in the whole inn, didn't you?
No.
You did? Can you imagine how they could give them the best room in the whole motel? Well, tell me where did you send baby Jesus' mama to be?
I had no room, so I put them in a stable.
You put Mary in a stable? Oh my goodness.
Yes?
Yes, you did, didn't you? I just can't believe you did that. There was no room. There were so many people there that you had to do that. But at least did you happen to see some things going out? Did you kind of go take a peek? What did you see when you took a peek?
Baby Jesus.
Baby Jesus is born. And where was he laying?
In the stable.
In the, what's that? Bed. Manger?
A manger.
And what is a manger?
Where animals eat.
Well, innkeeper, I think you're going to be just fine, don't you? And we also have somebody else here. I don't know. Who is this? Can you tell us who you are, sir?
A shepherd.
You're a shepherd. Sorry, we heard in our lesson that shepherds are kind of stinky. Are you stinky? No, not this shepherd, never. It was late in the night. I don't know if it's cold or not, but it was late in the night, and you shepherds got a big surprise. Do you remember what that was?
No.
What? I would have thought you would have never forgot that. There was one, and it was an angel. Remember what the angel said? Mom. Show me your fearful face when the angel came to you. It was like really scary, wasn't it? And she said, you can go. And she told you about the baby Jesus being born in Bethlehem. And what did your shepherds decide to do?
Don't say we left his sheep.
The shepherd left his sheep. Can you believe that? Those poor sheep, but you had something important to do. What was your important thing you wanted to do?
Watch the sheep.
That's what a shepherd does, but you had something else you wanted to do. You wanted to go see somebody. Who did you want to see? That baby Jesus.
Yeah, baby Jesus.
And after you seen baby Jesus, then you went and told the world. As many people would listen, you told that. And what did you say?
Mommy's having a baby.
Who had the baby Jesus? Oh, that is wonderful. I am so glad you shepherds told us. And one day somebody told me about baby Jesus. And I am glad you shepherds shared that news. Oh my goodness. We have someone else who looks really special. Guys, look at him. He's got a crown on and he's holding a cross. Sir, who are you?
Jesus.
King Jesus. King Jesus came to our vacation Bible school. He was here every night. He started out as a baby, and now, come around here and tell me about King Jesus. How did your father send you to earth?
To die for everybody's sins.
For my sins?
Yeah.
For whose sins?
Everybody.
Everybody. King Jesus came and died for our sins. That makes me excited. I'm so glad that, the Father loved us enough to send. send his son to us. Can you tell me why God the Father did that?
Because he loved us.
He loved us, and he didn't want us to have to go and have to suffer a horrible, torture, painful torment forever. So he came so we could have for everlasting life. Isn't that amazing? So tell me the rest of the story. You came and you grew up, and people got really angry at you, and I see you got something in your hand. They nailed you to the what?
Cross.
And did you die?
Yes. But I came back alive again.
Oh, you came back alive. That's what I was wondering. You're alive today. Are you alive today, living in heaven?
Yeah.
And one of these days, what's going to happen? This is the good part. You're going to come back for your children, aren't you?
Gonna come back.
Are we ready to come back? I hope we are ready to go when he comes back, don't you? Okay. Hey, and look, we just had a surprise visitor every night. We had a surprise. And who are you, little lady?
The angel.
Oh, the angel of the Lord. Just hang them up. Thank you. Now we are going to give a big turn around. Turn around. Everybody turn around real fast, like. No longer are we shepherds and angels. We are just children attending vacation Bible school. I would like for each one of you to take something out of our basket. Christmas in July is an amazing time. It's just like having double holidays. And we are going to decorate our tree. Dixon, I see. What color did you put on?
Yellow.
Gold. What does gold represent on our tree?
Money. Heaven.
What does the gold represent?
Heaven?
Heaven, that's right. We all want to go to heaven. Who put the Daniel, what color are you putting on their tree?
Black.
Black. And what does black represent?
That
Sin, doesn't it? There's one thing that cannot go to heaven, cannot be in heaven. What is it? Sin. That's exactly right. And Ashton, I noticed you put a beautiful color on. Tell me what color that is.
Red.
And what does red represent?
Jesus' blood.
Jesus shed his blood for us all, didn't he? And you? Could you please pick? Oh, I see you got an extra red one. Could you pick up the white one? The white one. We're almost done, I promise. Okay. Here's finding the white. And what does the white one represent?
Will be white as snow.
Because Jesus are white will be white as snow. Very good. And I see someone putting up the green ball. What does the green ball represent? Growing in Christ. And that's what we did this week. We grew in Christ. Our Christmas tree is looking so pretty now. And the lights on the tree represents what? Jesus. He's the light of the world. Okay, Miss Debbie, we're ready to sing some songs. You're ready to sing? Okay, here we go. Turn around. Okay, let's do, we got our jingle bells ready? Ready? Jesus saves, Jesus saves, all the way. I will not die, this was God, Jesus saves, salvation all the way. I will not die, good job. Let's do, can I do the move song? Okay, move song. What is the
Thank you.
gonna do the song you're all going to sing, so I better hear it loud, okay? We're gonna do the ice cream song, loud. Here we go. I love Jesus better than ice cream. Sing it loud. Okay. I love Jesus better than ice cream. We got one more song. We're gonna let Vicky help us. You sang it pretty good. You all are gonna have to do it pretty good. Okay, here we go. We're gonna sing Happy Birthday to Jesus. Okay, baby Jesus. Happy birthday to you. And I have certificates for you guys. You did a perfect attendance. We're proud of you too. You did a great job. We have 6 of them brand new to us. We have just fallen in love with this young man. We hope to see you many more times. Ashton, perfect attendance. What can we say? And then you almost made perfect attendance, didn't you? Almost. So we're so proud of you. You have great behavior. I hope you learned lots and lots of things about Christmas. Is not about Santa Claus, is it? No. It's about Jesus. Okay, one more thing they want to tell you what they love about Vacation Bible School. Ashton, what did you love about Bible School?
All the games we played.
The games we played? Jude, what did you love about Bible School? Oh, you changed yours? Okay. Danny, what did you love about Bible School?
Games.
The games?
Everybody loves games.
He's the winner of the games. Thank you, parents, for letting me teach you the precious children. I'm going to totally make just the best we get. Thank you for
Praise these, come on. My name is Kevin. I taught the preteen class. If you all would get ready. Girls, you would go get your dress. This has been an interesting week. They kind of educated me this week. I've learned all about Korean boy bands to how to dance. So these kids taught me a lot. But we've sat and we've talked about Jesus, and we did lessons. And of course, our Bible school is Christmas in July. And what we've been talking about is the perspective of these different characters, like Mary and the innkeeper. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some skits. The first skit is basically showing and telling why do we want to celebrate Christmas in July. So our first play, our first skit is Alex, Victoria, and Millie. So go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Alex, are you alive? How come you're just sitting there?
I'm bored.
We are kind of bored too.
I couldn't wait for summer vacation. Now that it's here, there's just nothing to do. I'm bored.
There has to be something we can do.
Like what?
Hey, I know. We can ride our bikes.
Nope, my tire's messed up.
How about a game of basketball?
And the ball is flat.
I got some new comic books. Want to read?
Nope, we'll do enough of that when school starts. There's nothing to do. Maybe if we sit here till Christmas, we'll think of something.
Christmas. That's it.
What? What did you say?
Christmas. Let's celebrate Christmas.
Now? In the middle of July?
Why not? At Christmas time, people are kind and thoughtful and do things to share the love of Jesus with others. Shouldn't we do that all year long?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, why wait until Christmas? Let's do some of those special things now.
You mean like visiting the old people and singing Christmas songs to them?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, right. They'll think we're crazy.
We could sing other songs instead of Christmas carols.
That's a great idea. I'll bet nobody goes to sing to the old people in the summer. Everyone's too busy.
Let me ask Mom if we can bake some cookies or make some candy to take along.
Nice. I'm beginning to like your crazy idea.
Maybe if we promise to do the work, we could even have a party for the kids in the neighborhood.
A Christmas party in July. That's a new one.
We could make up some games and stuff, and somebody could read the Christmas story or maybe some other story about Jesus from the Bible.
I got some colored paper and other stuff to make decorations.
And I'll do the invitations on my computer. I'm good at that.
Great.
You know, we should visit that new family that moved down the street and invite them to our party.
Mom always says there's never enough time to do all these things we want to do at Christmas, so this year we get an early start.
Wow, now we have tons of stuff to do. This summer isn't so boring after all.
Come on, let's get started. There's no reason to wait until Christmas to share the love of Jesus.
Very good, guys. So now we're going to look at two different characters. We have Mary. So Mary, if you would come on out. And we're going to see Christmas through the eyes of Mary.
It all started that night when the angel showed up. He was telling me how much God loved me and how I was going to be blessed. Then he said that I would become pregnant before Joseph and I got married. To be honest, I'm still not sure how being an unwed teenage mother in a small town where gossip spreads like wildfire is a blessing from God. When people found out, it was horrible. My father wouldn't even look at me in the eye for weeks. When I would walk down the street, I would hear the whispers. She comes from such a great family, and this is how she repays them. And poor Joseph, such a good man. He doesn't deserve something like this. God will judge her. I was sure my life was over, but when Joseph came to see me, I thought he was going to tell me that our engagement was off. But instead, he said the angel had visited him too, and that he knew God was doing something great. When my belly was so big, I thought I would burst at any moment. Joseph told me that we would have to travel to a faraway town. As we made the journey, I began to feel the pains. At first, I wasn't sure if it was the contraction or that the donkey wasn't very steady on its feet. When we got into town, none of the houses had any room for us, even though I was clearly in labor. One man said he'd do us a favor by letting us stay in his stable. Some favor, a wet cage surrounded by filthy animals. Still, it was better than nothing. After he was born, I was holding him, trying to rock him to sleep, and I started crying. There I was in a town where we knew no one, with a baby people at home knew wasn't Joseph's. I'm so young, I thought. I can barely take care of myself. How can I take care of a baby? Just when I thought God had abandoned me, I looked down at my son. He was staring up into my eyes with a calm that I have never seen in anyone before. It was as if this little infant was saying, "It's okay, Mommy. God will somehow make this all work out." And somehow, deep down, I knew it was true. Somehow, God would make it all work out.
Thank you, Mary. Good job. How many times do we feel, God, what's going on? Why is this happening? But we know that God is always with us and He loves us, don't He? So, wonder how Mary felt. God, why did you choose me? But God had a plan, didn't He? Amen. And His Son came in this life to give us life and life more abundant. Aren't you glad that we have life? Amen. Through Jesus. Now we're going to see Christmas through the eyes of our shepherds. Now, Miss Connie already said they was kind of stinky, so you're far away, but you won't smell them. But shepherds, come on up. We have shy shepherds. Is that okay?
They're short too, so I'm giving them a so you can hear them.
It was night, the coldest night of the year, they said. They were right. It was the kind of night where you feel the chill deep inside your bones, deep down in your bones, and you couldn't stop shivering even if you wanted to. On nights like these, I hate being a shepherd. I mean, it's bad enough that they pay us next to nothing, and the owners treat us like dirt. It's bad enough that we have to stay up all night fighting off wolves and other creatures. But the part that really gets me is how people look down on us. I mean, I know we smell bad since we hang out with sheep all the time, but that's not the reason. When we're in town, people avoid us because they think we're bad people. Other people put their heads on their running bed when they see us because they're afraid we'll rob them. I've never hurt anybody in my life. I'm just trying to survive like anyone else. It's not my life's goal. It's not like my life's goal was to be a shepherd. I just couldn't get any other job that was better than that.
Like he said, it was the coldest night of the year. We were sitting around the fire trying to keep warm. I thought I might be able to get some sleep, so I started to doze off. That's when it happened. A bright light came out of nowhere, and I heard someone shouting something. I figured it was some kind of trick to be able to steal our sheep. I squinted and I saw a figure man saying, "Don't be afraid, I have good news." He tells us that in town, the new king has been born, and that we should go see him. He said a star would show us the way.
All of a sudden, the light disappeared, and after the spots went away from our eyes, there it was, a star that I had never seen in the sky before, shining as bright as the moon. We headed off, not knowing why. It didn't make any sense. After all, why would a bunch of dirty shepherds be allowed to see a king? Even regular people didn't want to be around us. Why should a new king be any different?
When we got into town, the star didn't show us the way to a palace or a fancy house like we thought. We figured the king would be born in a real nice place. Instead, the star led us to a cave filled with animals. And there was a real young girl and a guy who turned out to be her husband, with a newborn baby wrapped in rags.
I walked over to take a look at the baby. He was asleep, so I was real quiet because I didn't want to wake him up. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and looked up at me and smiled. It wasn't one of those normal baby smiles. It was the kind of smile that said, "I love you." I still had no idea what all this King Messiah stuff is about. What I do know is that there's something so special about this baby.
Is that it, girls? All right, let's give our shepherds a hand. Now, if you think about it, shepherds had a bad reputation. Think about it. Jesus, God, allowed them to deliver this good news. They were the very first one. If you think about it, our lesson told us that they were the first evangelists. God trusted them, and they went and spread the good news to everybody that they could. So we too need to share this treasure, don't we? Amen. And this treasure is all about Jesus, and what a wonderful treasure He is. So this is the teen class, or pre-teen class. We had Alex McDavid. He was here every night. We had Victoria, we had Millie, we had Sumner, Mackenzie, and we had Abigail. We do have certificates for them, but I left them downstairs, so they'll get them after the program. But we've enjoyed having them. Thank you, parents, for allowing us to teach your child. So, again, let's give the pre-teens up.
These kids all week long had trouble keeping up with their music. So.
I'm so glad it's
I've seen sin hardened men melted, your legs transformed, the lights of hope put back into the eyes of a hopeless child.
At the name of Jesus, heritage and bitterness, love, forgiveness, and I've heard testimonies of how a mother softly breathes her son's name at the bedside while he is drooling with fear, and I've watched a little boy come back to church ready to play again, completely healed by the touch of Jesus. I heard stories of a dying saint, her body racked with pain, who in those final fleeting seconds summoned her last ounce of ebbing strength to whisper Earth's sweet name, Jesus, Jesus. Emperors have tried to destroy it, philosophies have tried to stamp it out, tyrants have tried to wash it from the face of the earth with the very blood of those who claimed it, yet still it stands.
And there shall be in that final day, when every voice that has ever uttered a sound, every voice of Adam's race, shall raise in one mighty chorus to proclaim the name of Jesus. For in that day every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
So you see, it was not mere chance that caused the angel one night long ago to say to a virgin maiden, his name shall be called Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. You know, there is something about that name. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. There's just something about that name. Master, Savior, Jesus.
Jesus, let all heaven and earth proclaim. Kings and kingdoms shall all pass away, but there's nothing about that name. We'll hear from our teen teacher now. She did double duty this week. We're very appreciative of her.
So this week I decided for this Bible school I wanted to do the teen class. It ended up having one student every single night, and then we had a few visitors pop in here and there, and one who was working, but that's okay, we'll give her that bye. So we had Howie, who's been here every night this week, and Ginger, who's been here 2 nights this week. So.
Okay, that's our program for tonight. We'll let Brother Mark end it. But I would like to say that I've directed Bible school for a long time. You know, and every year I joke and I'm like, hey, somebody want to take Bible school this year? You know, and but the Lord keeps giving me the things. You know, and as long as the Lord can use me. You know, this year I told them Sunday morning, I was like, this must be going to be the greatest Bible school ever, because the Lord has really taught me. And you know what? I can say I have felt the Spirit every night. You know, I've felt Him working through the kids. And there was one night in here, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, the Spirit was so strong I wanted to take off running and jumping. I think it was Tuesday. You know, the Lord knows what He's doing. He doesn't make mistakes. You know, every night I told the kids, I was like, you know, it's the world's greatest story that's ever been told, Jesus. You know, if you love your kids, make sure they're in church. Make sure you're teaching them about Jesus. You know, it's easy to say you love your kids. You'll do everything for them. You'll sacrifice and stuff. But if we don't teach them about Jesus, they don't have much of a chance in this world at all. So from the bottom of my heart, I love everybody in here. Please teach your kids about Jesus. The greatest story ever. You know, I have to say, you know, Barbie said about Ginger. You know, she's 19. And some people stop coming to Bible school around, well, even Howie's 16. But I look at them both, you know. And even though they're older, I don't know if they just don't want to give it up or what. But they've been here when they can. You know, and that's an amazing thing to me. You know, they could have stopped and said, oh, I'm too old. But they didn't. Even when maybe they felt like they were at some point. You know, but they've been taught and raised from the time they're little. You serve the Lord, you know, and this was their way of doing that. That's what I mean. Teach our kids. Teach them about Jesus. If you can't be here, teach them about Him at home. You know, God knows your heart. For my bottom desire, I've always told my kids, I'm like, listen, I don't want you to remember anything about me, but that I love the Lord. That's what I want my testimony to be when I leave this world. So they know when they stand over my coffin, when Danny and Lisa look at me, they're going to say, Mom's in heaven today. And that's what I want. Yeah, you all sit down. I'm sorry.
Let's give Debbie a big hand as well. You know, last year, I think it was the last night of Bible school, we started talking about this Bible school, and she came up with the theme, Christmas in July, and you know what, it stuck all year.
I was at lunch on Tuesday, I believe it was. I took a coworker of mine over and met Randall and Lisa over at Food City. Good place to eat, by the way. If you haven't ever eaten there, it's a good place to eat. We were sitting there and joking around. I said, yeah, their mom's the one that directs Bible school. I said, by the time the week's over, she'll probably have the theme for next year. Lisa says, well, she kind of already does. So, yeah, we do appreciate her and all the work she does. I mean, it's really hard. Not only her, I mean, all the teachers. The Hilton and Browder family, we certainly do appreciate them. 3 out of the 4 classes were taught by them, and we certainly appreciate them. And, Connie comes over and not a member of this church, but she's a member of this church. I can tell you that right now. But we do appreciate everything that they do, and then Barbie teaching and bringing all the food, and then everybody here for just supporting everything. That anytime somebody needed help, there was always somebody to do it. David brings the drinks every night. We have so many faithful people. Lisa and Jenny did the crafts, and just so many people. And I actually had people in my class this year, in the adult class. Usually I have like 1 or 2. And that was so nice. We learned a lot. And I told them this week, I said, the thing that really hit home to me is we tend to preach Christmas messages once, maybe twice a year. And usually it's the Sunday before Christmas or whatever. Or maybe we'll have a Christmas Eve service. But when we had a whole week to sit down and look at what Christmas was like through the eyes of all these people. Some people that may not have even existed. If you can find me the scripture on the innkeeper, I'm still looking for it. There was no innkeeper. There was just no room in the inn. He may have put up a sign. There may not have been an innkeeper. There may have been. We don't know. But we judge him because they had to go to a stable. Maybe he was the one that provided it. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't even a real person, but we still looked down on him. But you know what? Maybe he did all that he could. And that's all God ever asks of us. And I thought I'd end this just one real quick thought. We looked at Christmas through the eyes of Mary, through the eyes of the innkeeper, through the eyes of the shepherd, and through the eyes of God. But I thought we ought to look at it through our own eyes. And I realized when I thought about how to close this out, just how much Christmas means to me. It's as if I was a beggar out on the sidewalk, like Lazarus was. Lazarus, Jesus talked about Lazarus being a beggar. And the rich man would not even throw his crumbs out to him. He'd just look down on him and walk in. But I was once that beggar on that sidewalk, outside the king's palace. And you know what happened? The king came in and made me his son. That's what Christmas means to me. When he was willing to give it all up just for me. And he did it for each and every single one of us. If it had only been me, I believe he'd have done it anyway. He gave everything he had for just little old me who didn't deserve it. And that's what I want each of you to take away from this week, is that God gave it all up just so that he could spend eternity with us. What an amazing thought right there. So I'm going to ask you to stand tonight and just give you an opportunity if anybody needs the altar. I don't know if you're here tonight and you're saved, or you're here tonight and you're just maybe this week's just revived you. I think this is as good as a revival, to be quite honest with you. Those lessons that we had were just amazing, and but I feel revived. I was pretty tired. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Debbie said we're all tired. Last night I was a walking zombie, it felt like. But as we got into the lesson and we looked at Christmas through God's eyes, thought about how tired he must have been walking up that hill at Calvary. how exhausted he had been. I don't know if you realize this, he'd been up all night. Alex this summer has stayed up all night just a few times. It's hard, isn't it? You feel tired tonight. I saw your eyes. Yeah, it was hard. He goes to sleep and sleeps till 5 in the afternoon and then stays up all night the next night. But you know, Jesus didn't have that option. Because around 9 o'clock one morning they took him and they hung him on a cross. Not because they decided it, but because when Adam sinned that first time in the garden, God ordained that Jesus would be on that cross. And I want you to think about that. The promise that night was realized. The angels were singing and celebrating. Did they know what was coming? I don't know. I don't know if they knew the whole story, but God did. And He still loved us that much that He sent His only Son. So tonight, if you don't know this man that we're talking about here, you can. You say, preacher, how do you do it? The Bible says that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Saved from what? There's a real hell tonight. Make no mistake about it. There is a real hell. But Jesus came so that we could escape it. Hell is separation from God. And there is nothing worse than that. But you know what? That same Jesus that was laid there in the manger felt what that was like. When He was hanging on that cross and God had to turn away. He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Because He could not look upon the sin that He bore. We would stand in judgment and bear our own sins. But Jesus that day took upon the sins of the whole world and then cast them as far as the east is from the west. That pure blood that He shed on that cross is what saves us today. And it's still able to save. So if you don't know Him tonight, why don't we just wait in silence for just a minute or so? I'll give you the opportunity to pray and we'll pray with you. We can't pray for you, but we'll pray with you. All righty. It's been a wonderful week, and like I said, if I didn't thank you, okay, for coming, for supporting us, for whatever you did behind the scenes. You see, we don't always see it, but God sees it all, and He knows what you've done. And so we do appreciate each and every single one of you for coming. I think most of us have been here just about every night. Thank you for bringing your kids. If you didn't bring them, thank you for sending them. And we certainly do appreciate each one of you that took part and worked to take a part. We're not done yet. Tomorrow, about 1 o'clock, I'm hoping to have the burgers done by then. Okay, so if you're bringing burgers or hot dogs, try to be there by about 12 or so, and I'll go ahead and get started cooking. And I'm going to try to bring my grill because I can't heat charcoal up worth a dime, to be quite honest. So we tried that last year or 2 years ago, I think it was, and we